Welcome to Lifestyle School, the podcast where we simplify healthy living so you can create the life you deserve. I am your host, Hope Plack, and each week we will explore practical tools, inspiring stories, and actionable steps to help you achieve lasting health and confidence without the overwhelm. Let's get started. Just a quick note before we dive in. The information shared on this podcast is for educational purposes only, and it's not intended as medical advice. Always consult with your qualified healthcare professional before making any significant changes to your diet, exercise, or lifestyle routines. Okay, fun fact as we get started. After just 12 to 16 hours of fasting, the body begins to produce measurable amounts of ketones as it shifts from burning glucose or sugar to burning fat for fuel. By 48 hours, ketone levels can rise by up to 20-fold, significantly enhancing fat burning and metabolic efficiency. This rapid rise in ketones during fasting not only supports energy needs, but also promotes autophagy, the body's cellular repair process, making fasting a powerful tool for both weight loss and longevity. So fasting, I think is often thought of as this weight loss tool, which it definitely can be, but it's actually so much more than that. When we fast, our bodies shift into a unique state called autophagy. Autophagy is like a natural cellular cleanup crew. It clears out damaged cells. It helps to make room for new healthy ones. And this process has been linked to lowering risks of diseases often associated with aging, like heart disease and diabetes. So fasting doesn't just affect our waistline, it's working on a deeper level to support our long-term health. And one of the big benefits of fasting is that it has a huge impact on insulin sensitivity, which is our body's ability to regulate blood sugar levels. This means that fasting isn't about reducing calories, while it typically does that for people. It's about giving our digestive and metabolic systems a break, which can help us stabilize our energy and support hormone balance. So now, there are some common misconceptions that I want to address about fasting and that I'd love to clear up for you, hopefully. First, many people think that fasting is the same as starving, but it's actually quite different. Fasting is about timing rather than deprivation. When done right, fasting is safe, it's balanced, and most importantly, it's sustainable. It doesn't mean you're skipping essential nutrients or depriving yourself of food. Another misconception that is fasting slows down your metabolism. This is only true in extreme cases or if you're fasting for prolonged periods without nutritional repletion, which I'm a really big proponent of. Fasting can actually help maintain a healthy metabolism and maybe even enhance fat burning. So lastly, a lot of people think fasting is only for weight loss. While it can help with weight management, fasting has a whole range of other benefits. It boosts our mental clarity. This is something that I feel that I have personally benefited from. It supports energy levels. I'm a mom of 3. I can tell you that I have definitely benefited from this one. And then lastly, it strengthens our immune system. So instead of thinking of fasting as just a diet, I would love for you to consider it as a tool for your overall wellness. And fun fact, it's probably one of the oldest tricks in the book when it comes to our overall wellness. Fasting can help you achieve long-term health benefits by simply adjusting when you eat. It's a sustainable way to boost energy, improve focus, and support your body from the inside out. So I want to tell you just a little bit about my own personal experience. I am someone who has dealt with their weight for a very long time. While I was in college, it was an issue. After I had kids, it became even much more of an issue. With my first pregnancy, I gained over 60 pounds, thinking I would breastfeed and I would just, nurse the weight off and it would disappear forever. Long story short, that didn't happen. The opposite happened, to where I couldn't seem to lose body fat when I was nursing. And then even after that, it was extremely difficult. And as someone who has worked in the nutrition space as a nutrition coach, as a personal trainer, this was incredibly frustrating and humbling because I felt like I was doing everything right. I was in the gym, I was lifting heavy, I was doing interval training, I was eating paleo. I was, only eating my 3 meals a day, or I was doing, 6 small meals a day. I felt like I had tried everything and it just wasn't working. And I didn't realize that at the root of my issue was insulin sensitivity, and that I was never allowing my insulin to get low enough for my body to go from burning glucose for energy to burning fat for energy. And in 2019, I read an amazing book, which I think everyone should read, called The Obesity Code by Dr. Jason Fung. And it totally started me on this journey of fasting. Prior to reading that book, I had a ton of food anxiety where if I didn't know where and when I would get my next meal, I would start to feel kind of anxious because I dealt with blood sugar issues secondarily to my insulin resistance, where my blood sugar would get really low and you start to feel shaky and really off and you feel like you're crashing. And long story short, I slowly started fasting. And as my body was able to actually start to tap into my fat stores for energy, it totally resolved all my blood sugar issues. And so fasting has been a huge gift for me. And I've seen it be such a gift to so many other clients because it's this beautiful tool where you don't have to learn, a whole new way of doing things. It gives you back time because you're not preparing special meals, shopping for special meals, and then, doing extra dishes because you've made, 3 different meals maybe for your family. And um, it's showed me that, my body's not broken. I think for a long time I was like, what is wrong with me that I can't lose this weight, even though I feel like I'm doing everything right. And really, I just needed to give my body the tools to be able to access that weight, that extra body fat that I had to be used as energy. And really, all that took was taking a break from eating and doing that often enough where my body started to learn how to metabolically switch from burning glucose to burning stored fat. So, I want to dive into some different types of fasting and how to get started safely and how to make fasting a part of your life without becoming overwhelmed or making it too restrictive. So, I want to start with this. Fasting is not a one size fits all approach. There are several types, each with unique benefits. So, first, I want to talk about intermittent fasting, commonly known as IF, which is probably the most popular and accessible method of fasting. So, intermittent fasting is all about timing. So, you're alternating between eating and fasting windows throughout your day. The most common version is the 16-8 method, which you've probably heard at some point, especially if you're on social media or if you listen to podcasts. So, what a 16-8 method is where you fast for 16 hours and then you eat within an 8-hour window during the day. So, for example, this might mean you stop eating after dinner at 8 p.m. and then you wait until noon the next day to have your first meal. Or it could be, 11 and 7, whatever works with your lifestyle. The benefit of intermittent fasting is that, it's really flexible. You can adjust your eating window to fit your schedule. It's not about dramatically cutting calories. Many people find that it improves their energy, mental clarity, and their insulin sensitivity, which means that they have better blood sugar control. And this approach is also great for people who want to ease into fasting without feeling deprived, because, you're still eating your regular meals just within a specific time frame. Next, we have alternate day fasting. So this is where people fast every other day. And on fasting days, some people consume very few calories, around 500 calories or so, or choose not to eat at all. If you're doing the 500 calories, that is what's referred to as like a fasting mimic diet, while eating normally on non-fasting days. So this type of fasting can support weight loss, metabolic health, but it requires a bit more planning and commitment. And it's important to listen to your body and ensure that you're still getting proper nutrition on both fasting and eating days. Then there's extended fasting, which involves fasting for anywhere from 24 to 72 hours or more. Extended fasts allow your body to fully enter a state of ketosis, which we talked about earlier, which switches from using glucose as your main fuel source to using stored body fat, which when we think about, our body fat, that is the main point of having extra body fat. Our body has put that fat away as a protective mechanism for a rainy day. However, I live here in the US and there really are no rainy days where I don't have food available to me. So, this type of fast has many benefits. Some of those include cellular repair, it reduces inflammation, it can even boost immunity. Personal story here, anytime I start to feel like I'm getting sick, or sometimes there's been a couple times when I've been really sick and I've been like, I cannot kick this bug. And so I will start a fast. And it always blows my mind how my body is able to use that fast to either keep away some sort of bug that my body is fighting or help me get over it faster. So, extended fasting is something that should be approached carefully. I want to really emphasize that, but ideally with guidance. But it also can do so much good and bring big change for your body. So I don't want you to, rule it out, but it's not something necessarily where maybe you want to start off with that. So if you're new to fasting, I recommend starting with intermittent fasting. It's Here's a simple way to begin. Gradually increase the time between your last meal of the day and your first meal of the next day. For instance, if you normally eat breakfast at 7 a.m., try waiting until 8 a.m. for a few days and then 9 a.m. and so on until you find you're comfortable in your fasting window. This helps your body adjust gradually and it reduces the shock of suddenly going hours without food. It's also essential to stay hydrated, and I cannot put enough emphasis on this. Many of my fasts have been made or broken by my level of hydration, especially during fasting periods. Drinking water, herbal teas, or even black coffee can help curb hunger and keep your body functioning optimally. Electrolytes are super helpful too, particularly if you're fasting for extended periods, as they support your energy and they prevent fatigue. As your insulin levels come down, your body is going to release fluid via your kidneys. And anytime your body releases fluid, whether it's urine or sweat, it always releases electrolytes as well with that sodium. That's why, your dog likes to lick your leg or your cat does after you've been sweating because it's salty, right? So we have to make sure that we're replenishing those electrolytes if we're doing especially extended periods of fasting. When you break your fast, be mindful of what you eat. Fasting can sometimes make us feel like we've earned a big meal, but it's better to start with something light and balanced, aiming for really nutrient dense foods that contain protein, healthy fats, and fiber. These foods will keep you from, they'll help you feel full. They're going to help stabilize your blood sugar and provide sustained energy as you're breaking your fast. So, for instance, you could break your fast with a bowl of mixed greens, avocados, and a protein on there. Like something like steak or ground beef, nuts, eggs, or whatever sounds really delicious to you. Honestly, one of my favorite things to have as my post-fast meal is a big piece of red meat. I'm in a red meat phase personally myself. I feel like my body's craving that. So, one of the biggest concerns with fasting is becoming too focused on when or what to eat. Fasting shouldn't feel restrictive or obsessive. If you find yourself in that spot, that is kind of the opposite place that I want you to be. The goal is to create a balance that enhances your life and it doesn't control it. I'm going to say that again. The goal is to create a balance that enhances your life, not controls it. And so I want to give you some simple tips to help you keep fasting in perspective and make it sustainable, because sustainability is really the game, right? At Lifestyle School for Weight Loss, my goal is for you to create systems in your life that feel automatic, that feel easy, so that every week when you show up to your life, every Monday you get up to like start the week over again, it's just automatic. You don't feel like it's this huge chore to do these things that are promoting the health and the weight that you want. So, number one is I want you to keep it flexible. Life happens, and there's going to be days when your fasting schedule needs to shift. And I want to tell you that is absolutely okay. It's to be expected. The beauty of fasting is that it's adaptable. And if you're out with friends or if you have an early breakfast meeting, adjusting your fasting window is not a big deal. Remember, consistency over time is what matters most in this game of health. Number two is I want you to listen to your body. So pay attention to how you feel. If you're genuinely hungry during your fasting period, especially if you're a woman and you're on the latter half of your cycle, you're, maybe in that week before you get your period, it's okay to eat food. Fasting is a tool. It's not a rule. Okay. It's more important to develop a healthy relationship with food than stick super strictly to a schedule. Number three, and this is connected with that last point, is avoid overeating. So, one potential harmful pitfall that I hear from people that I work with all the time with fasting is that there's this temptation to overeat during our eating window. And it can be easy to fall into this pattern, especially if you feel like you've, quote unquote, earned a big meal. So, to prevent this, focus on balanced meals and mindful eating. So, as you sit down, like take a moment to just appreciate this food that you're about to eat. Take a bite and just chew it slowly and be like, wow, this food tastes really good, right? Savor it. And then eat until you're satisfied. You shouldn't leave that meal feeling like you need more. And always start with your protein because your protein is going to be what keeps you feeling satisfied, right? And then stop before you feel stuffed. And, sometimes if you're like, I think I'm okay, but maybe I want more, if there's that question mark, you can always set a timer for 15 or 20 minutes. And then when that timer goes off, take a moment to reevaluate. Number four is focus on quality, not quantity. So fasting is about when you eat, but when you still fasting is about when you eat, but what you eat still matters. So a balanced diet with plenty of whole foods like vegetables, proteins, healthy fats are going to support your body and help you feel your best. When you focus on the quality of the food that you're eating, you'll naturally just feel better, and it's going to make your fasts feel that much easier. If you are fueling yourself with garbage between your fasts are not going to feel great because you haven't given your body and your cells the fuel that they need between your fasts. Number five, don't let fasting disrupt your social life. I'm going to say this again for all the ladies who just need permission to do this, but don't let fasting disrupt your social life. And this is something that I've wrestled with because, there's that fine line between following the plan to get the results that you want, but then also, we still have to live our life, right? So one thing I love about intermittent fasting is that it can fit into social situations without that much hassle. If you have a social event or family dinner, you don't need to feel restricted. Fasting should complete your life, not complicate it. So make your fasting schedule work for you. Just like my number one, point is like, you got to keep it flexible, right? There's always going to be another day to do another fast. And number six, my last point, remember the big picture. So fasting is just one part of a healthy lifestyle. Regular exercise, adequate sleep, managing your stress, and making sure that you're having a nutrient-dense diet are all equally important. And these are things that we talk about in depth in Lifestyle School for Weight Loss because we want to think of fasting as just one tool in our wellness toolkit, right? It's not the only answer. However, I would say it's a very helpful tool. It does a lot of good, efficient work for us. But when balanced with other healthy habits, fasting can be incredibly effective and enjoyable, honestly. I go through different phases, but I'm currently in a phase where I look forward to my fasting days because I feel like, I'm more focused, my energy is up, and I get so much done on those fasting days. So, in summary, fasting can be a powerful tool for improving overall health, but it's most effective when approached in a way that fits into your life and needs. So, start slowly, listen to your body, and remember that flexibility is key. And by keeping a balanced mindset, you can enjoy the benefits of fasting without feeling deprived or restricted. So, this approach will make fasting a sustainable, rewarding part of your lifestyle rather than a passing phase. And truly, like that is the whole goal. So, try experimenting with different types of fasts and see how it works for you. And over time, you're going to find a rhythm that suits your body and your lifestyle best. So from here, I want to move into Q&As. And just for those of you listening, if you guys have questions that you want me to address on the podcast, please shoot them over to me in an email at hopepotcoaching@gmail.com or in my DMs on Instagram, hopepotcoaching, because I would love to answer these questions for you. So the question that I'm talking about today is, will fasting slow down my metabolism? Because, we've seen with calorie restrictive diets that there is a reduction in metabolism, and that's not what we want, right? Metabolism is the fire that burns our fat, right? And we want that fire to be stoked. So one of the most common questions that I get from people is actually this question: is it going to slow down my metabolism? And I do think it's a great question because our metabolism is the key to how our body uses energy. And naturally, we don't want to do anything that's going to slow it down, right, ladies? So the short answer is that in general, fasting does not slow down metabolism. In fact, there's a number of studies that show that shorter fasting periods can have the opposite effect. So when we fast, our body initially responds by increasing certain hormone levels. If you've followed me for any length of time, you'll have heard me talk about these. And these hormones include norepinephrine, which can actually boost metabolism and enhance fat burning for energy. So when we talk about intermittent fasting, especially in the range of 12 to 24 hours, there are no significant impacts on metabolism. And some studies have even suggested that there's a slight increase around 11 to 14% in metabolism rate due to this hormonal response of our counter-regulatory hormones. So I think the confusion often comes from the effects of long-term calorie restriction, or sometimes when people do extremely prolonged fasts. Like I just saw someone on social media the other day doing a 40-day fast, which I like for fat loss, there really is no benefit for long-term fat loss, but we can indeed slow down our metabolism doing very long, prolonged fasts, as well as long-term calorie restrictions. Because when the body is deprived of food for extended periods, it thinks days at a time, or, in the context of, someone doing a long-term low-calorie diet, our body starts to adapt by lowering our metabolic rate to conserve energy. And this is a natural survival mechanism, but it is different from how the body responds to intermittent or short-term fasting. So what's interesting is that intermittent fasting avoids this metabolic slowdown by giving the body regular feeding windows. And that's why those feeding windows are so important. So it never feels like it's in starvation mode. During these eating windows, though, you're ideally eating balanced, nutrient-rich foods that help stabilize your metabolism. Again, that's why it's so important to focus on the quality of the food that you're eating during your eating window. So you're not depriving your body over the long term, which is what typically causes the metabolism to slow down. Another key factor in this equation is muscle mass. So when we lose muscle, often a risk with prolonged calorie restriction, our metabolism can slow down because muscle burns more energy than fat. You've probably heard this before. But intermittent fasting, when paired with a balanced diet and regular physical activity, preferably, if you know me, I'm talking about strength training, it can help preserve muscle. In fact, some people find that fasting combined with resistance training can support the maintenance or even growth of muscle. And that is actually something that I have experienced in my own life. It seems counterintuitive to say, fast and then grow muscle. But when you fast, you actually, your body, one of those counter-regulatory hormones that we were talking about earlier, norepinephrine, another one of those hormones that is increased when you're fasting is human growth hormone. And human growth hormone is a huge factor when it comes to growing muscle. So pairing those two together can have a really positive effect. So to sum it up, short-term fasting done intermittently, it does not slow down your metabolism. In some cases, it may actually give you a little bit of a boost. And by giving our bodies time to digest, process, and burn stored energy, fasting can be an effective part of a healthy lifestyle without causing that feared metabolic slowdown. So it's all about balance, guys, and making sure you're nourishing your body properly during your eating window and, doing those other parts of the equation. So I have a challenge for you that is simple, gentle, and a great way to introduce yourself to fasting as we wrap this up. If you're new to it, I'm challenging you to try a 12-hour overnight fast. And you might hear this and think, 12 hours, hope that's like not a very big deal. But according to the data on the internet, I can't remember off the top of my head who did this study, but it was under the umbrella of the NIH. But Americans on average eat 14 hours, have like a 14-hour eating window throughout the day. So this is outside of the norm. Hopefully not for you. If it is, you can bump it up a little bit. But what I would like you to do is pick a 12-hour window when you will stop eating after dinner and then start your next meal the following morning, 12 hours later. So, for example, if you finish dinner at 7 p.m., wait until 7 a.m. the next day to have breakfast. If you're already doing this, maybe try 14 hours or 16 hours, push it a little bit. So this approach is natural and it's easy to stick to because most of the fasting happens while you're sleeping, right? And now you might be wondering why this simple 12-hour fast is beneficial. So giving your body a break from food overnight can actually help with digestion and it can give your system a chance to reset. Many people find that they wake up feeling less bloated or even refreshed after just a few days of practicing an overnight fast. So, kind of getting rid of that late night eating. It can also help stabilize blood sugar levels so you can notice a steadier energy flow in the morning rather than relying on caffeine or sugar, which, I really hope you're not having sugar right away in the morning, but that's a conversation for another day. So during the week, I encourage you to take a few moments each morning to reflect on how you're feeling. Are you waking up with morning energy? Do you notice a difference in your digestion or how your stomach feels? This challenge is a great way to start tuning into your body and understanding, how a little extra rest for your digestive system might be benefiting you. And remember that this isn't about restricting yourself. It's about giving your body time to do what it's naturally designed to do, which is process food, repair, and prepare for a new day. So try the 12-hour fast for a week and really pay attention to how you feel. And then, if you're enjoying it, you can consider extending that fasting period or making it a regular part of your routine, right? We want to make things feel easy and automatic. That is the goal. And also, another goal here is we just want to help you connect with your body and see and feel how these small changes can make a positive difference. I think there's a huge issue that we have where so many of us, we don't check in with our body and how we're feeling. We just kind of go about our day on automatic pilot. We're constantly distracting ourselves. And this reconnection with self by checking in with ourselves to see how we're feeling, I believe is just a huge thing missing in our daily lives. And so much benefit could come from this and so much could be learned by just doing this. So to wrap things up, fasting isn't just about weight, guys. It's a powerful tool for overall health. And when we fast, our bodies get a break to repair and reset, which can support everything from better digestion to more balanced metabolism. But one of the most exciting benefits is how fasting can enhance mental clarity and focus, guys. This is one of my favorite things. And when we fast, our body switches from glucose to fat as a primary source of fuel, providing a steady stream of energy that helps keep us alert without the ups and downs of sugar spikes. Plus, fasting triggers the release of a protein called BDNF. We didn't really get into that too much, but this can help support our brain health and boost cognitive function. Who doesn't want that? So if you're curious, give fasting a try, even starting with a simple 12-hour overnight fast, and see how it makes you feel mentally and physically. You might just find it's the tool you've been looking for to stay sharp, energized, and in tune with your body. So remember, it's all about experimenting and finding what works best for you. So with that, guys, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Lifestyle School. I hope you found something valuable to take into your journey towards a healthier, more intentional life. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment, subscribe to the podcast, and share it with someone who could benefit from this conversation. Don't forget to follow me on social media at Hope Platt Coaching for more tips and inspiration. And if you're ready to take things to the next level, join my email list for exclusive content and updates. You can also check out my course, Lifestyle School for Weight Loss, where we dive deeper into creating the sustainable, healthy lifestyle you've been looking for. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time on Lifestyle School, where we build the habits that transform your health and your life.